There is an alien communicator here on Earth. Her name is Aaron, and she said that this weekend, the Motherships are going to come to Earth and reveal themselves, and they're going to do it in 2 major cities, but she didn't want to tell us where because she didn't want to cause panic. But I think that means we need to go clean our rooms and pack our bags and get everything ready. Otherwise, you know what? They're not going to take us, all right? So let's go do this. I'll start the show. Welcome to another episode of Mostly True Alien Stories. Go.
Now?
Go!
They're coming. UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain a little. We need to save ourselves.
Welcome back to Mostly True Alien Stories, where we're going to dig into history's most famous alien encounters and ask the big question, how much of this is actually true? I'm Neil Girandola, and joining me, as always, right next to me in another state is the lovely Andrew Triana. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Neil. How's it going?
It's going great. I love your sweatshirt. I feel like you're dressed for this show today because it's very exciting. We're going to be diving into what is arguably the most famous alien abduction case of all time. It's the Betty and Barney Hill incident. It's ground zero for what we now think of as the classic alien abduction. It's missing time. We got medical exams, telepathic beings with huge eyes, even a star map. Yeah, there's a star map. There might be probing. Yeah, there's star map.
Yeah, there's some probing. Yeah,
that's right. Supposedly, the star map pinpoints where the aliens came from. If you've heard of people being taken aboard a UFO, this is the case that started it all. And as we do on every episode, I'm going to lay out the story exactly as it was reported, no embellishments, no exaggerations. Then you and I will break it down. We're going to analyze the details. We're going to decide whether we think this is a mostly true alien story or not. And of course, we want to hear from our listeners. So drop your verdict into the comments. But before we get into the alien road trips and intergalactic pregnancy tests, little foreshadowing, let's check in with Andrew for the latest in alien news and entertainment. Andrew, what's lighting up the skies and the internet this week?
I got to tell you, man, a little history here. You might not know this. I used to work for Discovery Channel, and we actually created a DNA lab where kids could actually extract DNA from peas. And we won an award for it with Popular Mechanics. It was called the Popular Mechanics Best in Show Award.
I love it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So they would get their DNA. Is this the early 33andMe kind of thing or whatever it was called? Or?
Yeah, but it was with peas and carrots.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so everybody was sending in their DNA from peas and carrots?
Yep.
And they were all related?
If you bought peas from the grocery store, you could use those and see how they're related to you and find out that they're actually not related to you at all. But the thing was really cool. It had a working centrifuge. I mean, it was advanced for a kid's toy.
It's weird because I had a pea show up to my house about a month ago and said that we were related.
Was he like, Daddy, are you my daddy?
I did a DNA test. It turns out you're my dad.
I went down to Goodwill and found this DNA lab that was made 20 years ago. Yeah, that's it. It still worked. And now you're my dad. But anyway, so Popular Mechanics, that's been around forever. The title of this article really caught my eye. It says, aliens could be all around us, but we're totally unprepared for first contact.
Oh my God, that's brilliant because I think they're absolutely right. What do they have to say?
It says that we're spending more time tracking these vessels by seeing like where they are and where they go to than actually preparing for what would happen if they actually came here.
Maybe we should form an organization that actually prepares for those scenarios.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You and I we're brilliant. We could come up with some the preparation scenarios.
So from a scientist's perspective, this is what it says. The potential detection of extraterrestrial biosignatures comes first. So all these guys that are researching the potential detection of extraterrestrial biosignatures comes first.
Okay.
And it would follow the same scientific process as any other research. How to respond to such a discovery is an important discussion involving a broad cross-section of the global community, says NASA spokesperson Charles Blue. In other words, the world at large would need to be involved in the response, not just the scientists. So everybody's got to get it together.
I'm just thinking about the impact of that. I'm trying to find something that's relatable. It's like trying to get everybody to use seatbelts when seatbelts were first made a law that everybody had to wear them, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
just one of those things. It would take years for people to be on board with preparing for something like this.
I've already thought how we're going to do it. We're going to do it guerrilla marketing style. I've already designed a brochure that we can drop from helicopters across towns.
Don't alienate, be alien prepared.
Yeah, don't do it. So existing protocols seem to be entirely within the realms of scientific foundations like SETI. So our listeners that might not know what SETI is a nonprofit research organization that focuses on alien intelligence. And so they're saying that, we need to do some other stuff to figure out what to do if they actually appear.
Like what kind of stuff? Are they giving us any examples?
They're just saying that as a globe, as the world together, we need to all talk about, well, what do we do if they actually land? Do we have a greeting process? Do we have a carpet that will roll out for them? It's all these things. Like what would you do if aliens landed in your backyard and they were like, "Hi, Neil, we listened to your show. We think you can help us be our spokesperson."
Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, but
You're supposed to be like, I don't know.
Here's another challenge. It's like right now, us humans are currently struggling to handle different cultures on Earth.
Right.
How are we going to handle an alien species?
I'm right there with you. It's a fascinating read. Listeners, check it out. It's on popularmechanics.com.
I got one other thought too, because there's a million things that we could talk about on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is we could go deep dive. Are we going deep dive?
We really could, but like, I mean, the government definitely has a scenario group, right? So they're always preparing for all kinds of stuff. I find it hard to believe that they don't have a scenario for this.
Well, actually, NASA has worked on its own first contact protocols, conducting a 2024 workshop event about how best to communicate the discovery of alien life. But that's still not a welcoming party. That's just like, what's best? And if they are doing this, then who are they sharing it with? Because they're definitely not sharing it with us because they haven't even admitted that aliens exist or mostly that they don't exist.
Wow, I love this. This is really great food for thought. I know, listeners, if you have an idea of scenarios, how would you handle it? Leave a comment.
Here's one more little thing I'm going to give you. So it says right here in the article, it says, if an alien civilization could reach Earth, the sheer ability to travel light years would mean the aliens would already be vastly superior to us in technology. These aliens would be so advanced that our missiles and fighter jets would be like nothing to them.
Yeah, so it's definitely not a war situation. It is either a hostile immediate takeover or it is a relationship building mission, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
It's one or the other.
Right. And then there's skeptics out there that say, well, realistically thinking about this, the first extraterrestrial life we discover is probably going to be some microbe that we find on an asteroid. I mean, come on, man.
But
seriously?
you know what? Who invited that guy to the party?
I don't know. You know what? He should be taken in a room and beaten with phone books. I mean, seriously.
He's not allowed in our club.
What an idiot. Who?
We're probably going to find it in an asteroid.
How? You're going to send something to the asteroid, right? But meanwhile, there's a spaceship. You're going to fly right by them and be like, we don't need to communicate because there's no life in that spaceship. There's nobody there.
That's a guy you don't want on that committee to decide how we prepare for aliens coming to Earth. We're all fantasizing about these aliens, these 4-foot tall aliens or the Anunnaki or whoever just coming down and going, hey guys, we do exist. Here we are. Let's get together and let's figure this out. How's it going to happen? Listen, there is no Jesus Christ. We invented you guys. You have no gods. We are your gods. Prepare. Deal with it.
Wow.
I'm on that committee. I'm in the club. Well, this is a great topic. It really is. I think scenario-based outcomes on something like this everybody should be talking about it. It should be talking about it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Good for popular mechanics. I love that. I love that article. What else you got?
I'm so disappointed. The Age of Disclosure, a new documentary about UFOs. This thing, I've been waiting for this thing to come out, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's been talking about it. I mean,
Isn't it coming out this month?
no, it premiered at South by Southwest on Sunday, March 9th.
Oh, so millions of people saw it. That's South by Southwest, right?
No, it was a closed room. I don't even know how many people got to watch this movie. ABC News talked about it, that it premiered and all this stuff. Well, here's something for you, age of disclosure people. You don't have a studio behind you, so what else? You have no distribution. You have no plans for streaming. Okay. The best thing you have right now is your freaking trailer.
Maybe this is part of their promotion. Maybe they're just trying to build up the hype and the excitement by saying delaying it, only showing it to a closed room of like maybe 200 people, and then not releasing it when they said, well, it's been 2 years, right?
That's been longer than that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been like 4 years they've been working on this thing.
Yeah.
Secretly. It's just disappointing. I mean, I thought that after it premiered at South by Southwest, they would be announcing that it's going to be in movie theaters. It's going to be streaming on Netflix. It's going to be streaming somewhere. And it's not streaming anywhere. So I can't see. I didn't go to South by Southwest.
Their trailer's really good, and they're making some big claims. So they better, I mean, when they bring it out and they're delaying it like this, it better be like Academy Award winning documentary that people go, what the shit? Where has this been?
I'm going to mention one guy's name on this show. You ready? Dr. Stephen Greer. Okay.
I mean, if he's related to this,
what?
He delays everything.
Yes. That guy's been saying that UFOs have been landing since January. They haven't landed anywhere. He's supposed to be doing these big reveals, and everybody keeps giving him airtime, and he keeps saying the same thing. This is the same thing with this movie. I'm not going to believe this movie until I see it, until I can stream it, or go to my local movie theater and watch it. I'm pissed.
It's starting to smell like this is more sensationalism than actual legitimate research.
It smells like poo.
Yeah, but rather than legitimate research.
Well, they're claiming they did research. They've got like 30 senior members of the U.S. legislation, military, and intelligence committees to reveal this 80-year cover-up. Well, what's the 80-year cover-up? Reveal it to everybody. And the people that saw it aren't allowed to talk about what they saw. So like ABC News had representatives there, but they weren't going to talk about the movie.
Do you really think that an independent documentary will actually reveal something that the government has kept secret from us? You honestly think that they are going to have this
they sure made it sound that
information to sell tickets? I would do that. That's what I try to do with this podcast. We're talking about shit the government won't let you know.
Yeah, no.
Boom.
So Dan Farah, that's what I have to say to you, Dan Farah.
Dan Farah is the producer on this, right? Or he's the documentary.
He's the director. He's the
documentary
director.
and producer.
Yeah. Whatever.
What is there any indication of when they're going to come out with it?
Nope. Nothing.
It's the 15th, listeners. It's March 15th.
It'll be a week tomorrow. They said that it was premiering. They made it sound like it was premiering worldwide in March. That's what really pisses me off. And it premiered at South by Southwest. Who cares?
Okay, well, maybe they're trickling it out. Maybe they just they're doing this for promotion purposes. But I'll tell you what, like I said, it better be fucking unbelievable with the way they're teasing this for the past how many years?
3 years at least. 2 years at least.
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
I know that you're a huge football fan.
Yeah, I'm a Jets fan.
You're a huge Jets fan.
Unfortunately.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, dude. I've been a Bears fan since I was a kid.
You had some really good years.
You had Joe Namath.
Yeah, but that was before I didn't get to enjoy that. I was like 2.
That was 60 years ago, dude.
Yeah, I wasn't even born.
Okay, this is what's cool. This is what's awesome. Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, you know what? I love Aaron Rodgers. We got him for 2 seasons. One season he got injured, tore his Achilles, and then the second season he did okay, but he came with a lot of quirks and things like that. And I love him as a football player. His career has been outstanding, and I love that you're bringing up Aaron Rodgers on our podcast, which can only mean one thing. It's got to be some woo-woo thing he's connected to in some way, shape, or form about aliens.
I just said his name because you said you liked the Jets.
Oh, you just got me excited for nothing?
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing about Aaron Rodgers. Sorry.
And listeners, thank you for joining us today.
No, this is cool, man. This happened in 2005.
Okay.
Rodgers explained that his friend Steve Levy was hosting him at his home in New Jersey, and they were getting ready for bed.
Wait, they were at Rodgers' home?
No, they were at Steve Levy's home.
Steve Levy's house. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Steve Levy's house. They've been good friends for a long time. They played at Cal together, I believe. I think that's right.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, they played together. Yep.
They were all getting ready for bed. I guess they were sleeping all in one big bed. No, they weren't. Steve was.
Because that's what football players do.
Yeah, right. They snuggle.
They
That
have
gets them ready for
sleepovers.
the game
This-
next. Yeah. They're like a little pajama party and
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
oh, do my hair. There were 3 people there. There was actually Steve and his brother and Aaron Rodgers. He said they heard an alarm in the distance outside. And so Steve and his brother and I walked outside, and up in the clouds, we heard this sound, and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. Rodgers explained, it was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere and creating this explosion like fire in the sky. He said, we just saw this incredibly large object and froze, as anybody probably would do. I would just run.
Yeah, Independence Day, those ships in Independence Day were the size of a state.
Yeah, they were huge. Eventually it went out of sight and nobody said a word. We just stood frozen, the 3 of us, on the front stoop of Steve's house. And about 30 seconds later, we heard the real recognizable sound of fighter jets. It seemed to be chasing this object, and we just stood there in disbelief for another few minutes.
And that's it? That was their experience?
Yeah, it says Rodgers, who said the experience launched a lifelong interest in UFOs, figures the sirens that he heard was from the nuclear power plant about 9 miles away. He said a lot of UFO sightings take place around sources of energy like power plants and volcanoes. Whatever the
that
hell
is
it
true.
was, I don't know. But it was definitely unidentified, definitely flying, and definitely large.
Yeah, I love that story. It's a cool story. And Rodgers is a very intelligent guy, but he's also a peace-loving Quaalude kind of guy too. So you never know what that party was. I'm not insinuating that he does that, but he does talk about psychedelics. He does talk about those things in his life that he uses for healing and mind,
No, I hear you. I mean,
refresh. What do you think? Do you think he saw it? Do you think he saw something?
I think he saw something. I think it was a party.
I mean, I think that the fact that they saw maybe fighter jets, maybe legitimate.
Yeah, he said he heard. He didn't see those jets. He said he heard.
Oh, he didn't
what
see them. He
definitely-
heard them.
No, he didn't see them. He definitely said he heard what sounded like fighter jets. This could have been anything. I mean, he didn't recognize the alarm to be the nuclear power plant down the road until after everything had kind of settled. And then he said, with this explosive fire like in the sky. I mean, wouldn't other people have seen an explosive fire in the sky?
Well, you would think there'd be thousands of witnesses to seeing.
I mean,
something
that's
like
something big. Seeing the ship is
Yeah.
one thing, but seeing an explosion in the sky, that's why I think
Yeah.
an explosion of mushrooms and Quaaludes and
Definitely.
ecstasy.
Well, he's leaving us. He's either going to Pittsburgh or he's going to stay here in New Jersey and play for the Giants. I haven't heard yet, but as of the 15th of March, I have not heard. That might have been different, but by the time this episode lands, wait, is someone talking in your ear telling you what happened?
He's going to Pittsburgh. I've got a 50-50 chance.
All right, what's next?
I always like to give a good movie recommendation, right?
I love your movie recommendations.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm doing well, I think, on my movie recommendations.
Yeah, and you know what? You bring up some good movies, that are like from the past. You bring up some new stuff. You bring up some good ones in the past that we've forgotten about. So I always love the movie recommendation section. So what do you got?
Okay, so I was excited when I saw about this movie. It's
right.
called UFO. And if you want to find it, you can watch it on Apple TV. Put in UFO 2018 because that's when the movie was
All right, but it's just
released.
called UFO.
It's just called UFO, but there are thousands of things called UFO.
Yeah.
So put in
there's a lot.
UFO 2018.
Is it written by anybody specific? Is it star anybody?
It does star some great people.
Or wait, is this a documentary?
No, it's a real motion picture. It's like not a documentary.
UFO.
It's
So
just called
an
UFO.
action adventure movie.
And what intrigued me was it had Gillian Anderson in it from the X-Files.
Files.
And then David Strahan. Gillian Anderson plays a professor by the name of Dr. Hendricks, who's a brilliant math professor. David Strahan plays a special FBI agent with a mystery behind him.
Okay, I love that. Love the FBI agents with a mystery behind them. They weren't properly vetted to join the force, but so you know what I mean? They weren't properly. They got in though. They got in. They just weren't properly vetted, and there's a mystery.
Okay, I'm going to say this movie fell flat. Like completely fell flat. I was so disappointed.
Wait, this is your first downer movie recommendation?
Yeah.
Like you
downer
want us to
movie
watch
recommendation.
it so we can feel the pain you went through
Well, you
watching
know what?
it?
There might be people that actually like the film because it revolves around this kid named Derek, who's a brilliant mathematician student, right? But when he was a child, he saw UFOs, right? So he believes in UFOs. So then this ship appears. The whole thing takes place in Cincinnati, at the Cincinnati airport, where people witness a ship, right?
Okay. Sounds cool.
Yeah, right. So he's like listening to all the air traffic controller things, and he figures out that they're doing this mathematical code, and he has to close the grids, right? So it sounds really exciting, right? All the way to the end of the movie. David Straham's character's like,
Oh, wait, you're going to give away the ending?
yeah, I'm just going to give away the ending. It's so bad.
Because you don't give a shit.
Basically, the kid gets a job with them to help figure out where the next sighting
Good at
is
math.
going to be.
Because he's good at
Because
math.
he's good at math.
This kid figured out that this thing was coming based
It
on
was
math.
coming and where it was going to land and all this stuff. But we never
So this
see
is
anything.
this is a math movie.
Yeah, it's a movie about math, but it's not even as good as Good Will Hunting.
How do you like them apples, bitch?
That's what they should have said. Somebody should have said that, because if I was giving this on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd give it probably a 3.
Oh, man, wow.
We should rewrite this movie.
Do we keep all the elements in with the math?
Yeah, but
We
you
call
make
it-
it more exciting, right?
Like he's a dumbass at math.
No, he's smart. His professor's a dumbass at math.
Gillian Anderson's character.
Right, but it's not Gillian Anderson.
Who do we put in?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, my God, that would be perfect.
Let's play this. You're Derek. You're the kid. You're coming to me to tell me.
Professor,
Yeah.
I did this math equation,
Yes.
and I realized that there are aliens coming based on what I just figured out.
Oh my God, these aliens, they are coming here. We have to get ready. We must kill them all.
Why are we going to kill them? Wait, let me do some more math.
Don't you understand? You don't understand. Why?
Maybe we don't have to kill them. Let me see if this math equation says not to kill them.
No, let me look at it. Nah, they're coming to kill us. Don't you see? 4 for 4 doesn't equal 8. Let's go to the chopper. Let's go.
What are we going to do to the aliens when they get here, Professor?
I tell you, when I see them, I'm going to take my fist. I'm going to run it through their stomach, and I'm going to break their goddamn spine.
I think our version, based on your review of that movie, our version, I think, is more enjoyable.
Okay, I'm going to show you something about Schwarzenegger. Okay. Did you know that they did a poll? They did a survey in the UK about who would be the best person if there was an alien invasion. Who would you want leading the invasion?
For real? Somebody did a
For
poll
real.
about
They did a survey. Yes. And everyone, well, not everyone, but like 70% said Arnold Schwarzenegger.
that? Yeah, because of all his movies. Of course, I feel good about it. But you know what would in reality would happen? He's the first one. He's going to die right away. They're going to blow him away with some
They're going to
plasma.
kill him first because he's the only one that knows how to deal with him.
Yeah. It's Arnold. Kill him.
Come on, bring it. Bring it, you alien bitch.
Just like Arnold's gone. Just like that.
Put
He's been
away.
doing 40 years of these manly movies, and 1 second in front of an alien, he's dead.
No, what would happen is 1 second in front of an alien, he would piss himself. Look, I just pissed all over myself. I'm so scared. Then they would just post it. They would just post it on TikTok.
All right. Is that all you got?
That's all I got for you,
All
brother.
right. Well, that was great, man. I loved it. We've covered this week's headlines with Andrew. Now it's time to get into this episode's featured story. And just a quick refresher on how this worked. I tell the full amount of a reported alien phenomenon exactly as it was reported or documented. Then Andrew and I are going to break it down piece by piece and decide if we think this is mostly true or if there's just a little too much creative storytelling in the mix. And of course, we want to hear from our listeners. So drop your verdict in the comments. And now let's get into today's story, which is the Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction story. So September 19th, 1961, the summer had begun to loosen its grip on New England, giving way to the crisp early chill of autumn. You have Betty and Barney Hill. They're an interracial couple in the early 40s. They were winding down a much-needed vacation. They needed to get away. This was the tail end of their journey, and they're heading home. So they had spent the past few days, they were exploring Niagara Falls and Montreal, and they were relishing a rare moment of escape from their demanding lives in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is where they live. Barney, who is a U.S. Postal Service worker and a former World War II veteran, said that he was an overthinker by nature. He's cautious, he's very pragmatic. And Betty, who is a social worker, his wife, had a keen sense of curiosity. She was always curious about a lot of stuff. She was a woman who viewed the world with a sharp mind and an open heart for the most part.
If you think about it, I mean, being an interracial couple, they got married in 1960. So, I mean, that's like, they were so like advanced.
All right. So now they're on the road home. They're heading home from this trip they took to Niagara Falls. They're driving. They had a nice 1957 Chevy Bel Air. I love those cars. They were driving south along Route 3, if you're familiar with that area. The road was winding through this dense, isolated woods of the White Mountains. It was late. It was around 10:30 p.m. So they've been driving for a while. I guess it's a long day. But the night was clear. It was a very clear night. The moon was full and bright, and the stars scattered across the sky. They said like diamonds. As they're driving, Betty sees this strange light in the sky. It's a bright light. It's just over the treetops, and it's moving strangely. It's like erratic and impossible. And at first, she thought it was a falling star, but it didn't behave like one. Instead, it zigzagged, stopping suddenly, then moving in a way that no normal aircraft would. Now, Barney, he's the skeptic, right? He's the ever the skeptic. He dismisses it immediately. It's just a satellite, he said. This was in his report. And he kept his hands on the wheel and his eyes on the road. He's just driving. But Betty, the curiosity taking over, she wasn't convinced that this was just a satellite because the light was getting bigger. It wasn't high in the atmosphere like a star or a planet. It was moving and it was closing in on them as they're driving.
Wow.
Now,
Okay.
Barney's getting uneasy. Now he's getting uneasy. So he pulls over. He pulls over to the side of the road, and Betty grabs, they had binoculars because Barney liked to look at airplanes and stuff like that. It was like a hobby. She has binoculars in the glove compartment, and she leans out the window. She's looking, and she's peering into the darkness. And what she saw made her breath catch in her throat. It wasn't just a light. It was clearly an object. And now this object, she states, was watching them. As they continue driving through the Franconia Notch in that area, the object starts to descend lower, and it's following them now. And Barney, deeply unsettled, he pulls off the road once more. He steps out of the car for a better look, and no one around for miles. And he gets out and sees this thing sitting there. Barney's looking through the binoculars. He sees it clearly. It was a craft. It was huge. It was pancake-shaped. It was metallic with multicolored lights. They were pulsing along its edges, and it hovered just above the treetops, completely silent, and it moved with this eerie smoothness. And then he sees inside the ship. He sees through a row of windows, several figures stood watching him. That's creepy, man. That's freaking scary.
Did they wave?
There's nothing in the report says they waved. I'm going to wave to an alien. You and
But
I
maybe-
will wave to aliens.
Maybe a wave to them is a sign of aggression. Did you ever think about that? Maybe that's why they don't wave. Maybe they have another way of greeting.
I would do more like, I'd probably do like the, cross the arms down by the crotch and just like, up like this. I think that's probably, they probably appreciate that more. Like, I'd be like, oh, yeah. Yeah, like, alien.
And they're like,
Mm-hmm. They're like, he's friendly. Yeah. All right. So here we are. So through the row of windows, there are several figures, according to Barney. They're standing in the ship, hovering, watching him now. He's outside the car. And Barney estimated there were between 8 and 11 humanoid beings dressed in dark uniforms, staring at him with an intensity that made his stomach drop. And then suddenly, one of them moved. And a figure inside the craft, he shifted toward what Barney later described as a control panel. And almost instantly, something changed in the air around them. So he sees this as whatever that alien did, caused a change in the air around him.
and everything. Right.
That's right. So now a wave of paralyzing terror gripped him. Now he's afraid. Based on what he saw and what he was feeling, there's this terror gripped him.
So he's like this.
And poor Betty, she's still in the car. She's probably losing her shit.
You know what? She probably just started snorting a bunch of cocaine.
All right. So a wave of paralyzing terror grips Barney, and a voice, not his own, fills his mind with a single undeniable command. And it said, "Stay where you are, keep looking." But Barney resisted. Instead, he ripped the binoculars from his face and he ran like a bat out of hell back to his car and shouted at Betty, his voice shaking. And he says, "They're going to capture us." And he slams his foot on the gas pedal, speeding down the road. But apparently they didn't get very far because a series of loud rhythmic buzzing noises then fills the car. And then everything went black.
So they had like a tractor beam on their thing to like keep the car from driving away?
I'm assuming based on this report that this is what is going on, right? So the next thing they knew, they're 35 miles down the road. So they, this happens, and then next thing they know, they're 35 miles down the road. The car was still moving, but neither of them remembered how they got 35 miles down the road. Disoriented, they were disoriented. They're in shock. They finally arrive home in Portsmouth at dawn. So this was at 10:30 at night. This happened. And then by dawn, they're home at Portsmouth. I don't know how far that is for them to drive from there, but I imagine it's far. They felt like something was completely wrong. So, from that event. So both of their watches, by the way, had stopped working. Neither would ever run again. Betty's dress was torn at the hem and covered in a pinkish powder. And Barney's shoes were scuffed as if he had been dragged. And a mysterious circular mark was found on the trunk of their car. And worst of all, they couldn't account for 2 hours of their drive.
Pretty bad. Then they must have been driving really slow. They only went 35 miles in 2 hours.
2 hours, but
think
their memories
they
didn't
lost
come
2
back
hours.
for 35 miles.
Oh, okay. Just trying to do the math. I'm sorry.
Alien math.
When you figure this out, you'll see that 35 miles in 2 hours is quite a distance.
What, Arnold?
I am good at math, you idiots. Barney
All right.
was a coward. I would have fought them. I would have killed them all.
All right. In the days following the encounter, Betty began experiencing these vivid, recurring nightmares. She dreamed of being led into a strange metallic room by small humanoid figures with gray skin, large heads, and enormous black eyes. Sounds like
The Greys.
In her dreams, they examined her. They took samples of her skin and hair and showed her a mysterious star map. It's a series of points connected by lines indicating where they came from. This is what she's dreaming.
Right. This is what she said she saw. Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the couple's unease only grew, leading them to report the incident to Peace Air Force Base. And their case was noted in Project Blue Book. But the government, they just dismissed it as a misidentified celestial object. So desperate for answers, the Hills, they sought help from this guy, Dr. Benjamin Simon. He's a psychiatrist and neurologist specializing in hypnosis therapy.
Okay,
And
wait one second. So, I hate to interrupt, but Project Blue Book, they put it in there and it was like basically unclassified. It was like,
Yeah, they didn't really acknowledge it.
So
They
why
just
put it in the book?
Yeah, I don't know. So Dr. Benjamin Simon, they go to see him. He's, as I said, a psychiatrist, neurologist. He specializes in this hypnosis therapy. And under this hypnotic regression, this is what Betty and Barney recalled. And it was disturbing details of their abduction. Barney remembered being forced onto an examination table. A strange instrument was inserted into his genitals, and the beings spoke to him telepathically, analyzing his emotions. I mean, I can tell you what his emotions were if you're sticking something in my balls. Let me do it to you, alien. Yeah, you don't have to analyze nothing. You're going to hear it.
Show us. We need to stab it.
This man is truly blessed.
Praise the universe. We have found our leader. He has ginormous testicles. Praise you, leader. Praise you.
Keep holding on to his balls. Betty, on the other hand, she was subjected to medical tests, including a long needle being inserted into her navel. Even that's horrible. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Well, that's like if you get rabies, they got to give you 14 shots or 37 shots in your stomach.
Yeah, but
And I heard
I think I could take the stomach. I don't know. Just the thought of
Belly
something
button.
going into my belly button. I don't know why that's
Yeah.
weird, but maybe it's the same feeling. But just the thought of it, it's not as bad as getting my nuts injected with something. But
What if they did it both at the same time?
oh my God, they are evil aliens. Those are evil aliens. Okay. So Betty asked one of the beings, as she was now, so she was subjected to medical tests. She's including that needle into her navel. And then she asked one of the beings where they came from. Remember, this is under hypnosis. So they're remembering this stuff under hypnosis.
Right.
And she asks one of the beings where they came from, and they showed her, that's when they showed her this star map. So years later, astronomer Marjorie Fish, she analyzed the map because Betty had drawn it out and claimed it closely resembled the Zeta Reticuli star system, which is located 39 light years from Earth. And that is not something that you could Google. back then. You couldn't find that unless you were really an astronomer who understood the galaxy. So there's that. Let's talk about some of the theories behind this. So the Hills case, it became the first widely publicized alien abduction story in the United States. There were some books and documentaries and TV specials that followed. Hollywood adapted their story into the 1975 film, The UFO Incident, and had James Earl Jones in there as Barney. You love him.
I love it.
Some believe the couple did fabricate this abduction after Betty's nightmares, and others suggested Barney's stress as a black man in an interracial marriage contributed to hallucinations about this story. I'm not buying that. The U.S. Air Force dismissed the case. They claimed the Hills likely saw a bright celestial body like Jupiter. I don't know how you mistaken that. I don't know.
The planets don't come down; they stay in the sky.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Despite all of the scrutiny, though, Betty and Barney never backed down from their story. Barney died at the age of 46 of a cerebral hemorrhage in 1969.
Yeah.
And Betty lived till 2004, and she continued to tell her story to the day she died. They didn't initially seek any money from this. I like to tell that side because that contributes to our decision on this story. They didn't initially seek to make money,
but then they did.
From their alleged abduction, but their story eventually became widely publicized. So it led to some financial gain, but nothing to retire on.
It's also the 60s, so they weren't paying big residuals and stuff back then.
So here's how the report kind of got out, too. They weren't really going to tell anybody. It was a few days after their encounter, and it was on September 21st, 1961. Betty calls Peace Air Force Base in Fort Smith, New Hampshire, and to report the strange light they had seen in the sky. And at this point, she didn't mention any abduction, only that they had seen a large silent craft behaving erratically while driving through the White Mountains. And the report was taken by a Major Paul Henderson. He's an officer involved in Project Blue Book. That is the U.S. Air Force official UFO investigation program, Project Blue Book, if you're not familiar with that. Henderson's report concluded that the Hills had likely misidentified Jupiter and dismissed the sighting as an astronomical phenomenon, despite any claims that they made that the object had moved, descended, and even interacted with them. But there was no mention of missing time or alien contact was included in this report either. So that's lame report taking and actually really, taking that in. I wonder, and I hate to bring this into it, I wonder if that was racially motivated.
No, I'm not even gonna wonder. I'm gonna say yeah.
Let's just we'll take your report and get out of here.
It's 1961. Civil rights movement was just starting. So yeah.
I think you might be right. I just hate to bring that into this show. Oh God, I hate that. Anyway, this is how the story got leaked to the press. I'm including this because I think it's important, because I think there's one thing to have a claim that you saw a UFO, and then it's another to go out and try to make money. So the Hills experience probably would have remained private if it weren't for this guy by the name of John Luttrell. He was a journalist from the Boston-based newspaper, the Boston Traveler, in 1965. Luttrell somehow obtained a confidential recording of a UFO lecture that was given by Captain Sweat, who was a former Air Force intelligence officer. And during this lecture, Sweat discussed the Hills experience in detail, though they had never consented to have their story made public. Luttrell published a 5-day expose in the Boston Traveler, which broke the story wide open, and then suddenly the Hills were thrust into this spotlight. After Luttrell's articles were published, now the Project Blue Book took a renewed interest in this case all of a sudden, right? The head of the Project Blue Book reviewed the original report. His conclusion, though, based on his reviewing this, remained unchanged. They dismissed the case as a misidentified celestial object. So the whole order of how it all got released. Betty initially reported a UFO sighting at Peace Air Force Base. No mention of the abduction. The Hills privately sought help through Dr. Benjamin Simon's hypnosis sessions in 1964.
So 3 years later.
John Luttrell leaks the story. He made it public without their consent. And then Project Blue Book reviewed the case. They dismissed it. John G. Fuller writes a book in 1966. And then the 1975, the film is brought to worldwide attention. Hey, well, that's our story. That's what I have on the story based on the facts of the report. And now I'm going to hand it off to Andrew. And Andrew, I want you to let me know if this is a mostly true alien story or not. And listeners, I want you to make your comments whether you think it is a true story or not as well.
This was one of those stories that when I started digging into it, I just kept digging and finding things. So here's some information about Betty. Betty was a huge sci-fi fan. She was part of a UFO committee.
Prior to 1961?
Prior to 1961. She was also big into astronomy, and she joined a celestial organization.
All prior to this. So okay, I see where you're going with this.
Both of them in 1961, before they went on their trip, they really started getting involved in civil rights. They were considered civil rights activists. Betty had been married before. This was her second marriage. This is also Barney's second marriage. So it was very brave of them to come forward as an interracial couple in 1960. I mean, that's just crazy times.
Do you know if they were in an interracial couple, interracial relationships prior to meeting each other?
That I don't know. One thing that they did notice was that during the hypnosis sessions, Betty was calm. But when Barney was under hypnosis and they talked to him, he had like a breakdown. Yeah. The recordings are pretty amazing. He's like, oh my God, they're coming again. They're touching me again. What is going on? Why are they doing this?
One quick comment. Let me put it in perspective. He was getting his nuts grabbed and needles stuck in it. Okay. She was just getting her belly button done. All right. Just saying. Okay. Go on.
Well, I like a nice nut grab. It's not a bad thing. I don't want anybody to stick needles in it. Have you had the alien nut grab? It's the latest craze. Well, it was in 1961. It's not anymore.
I heard the alien nut grab's coming back. It's making a comeback.
You have a safe word for alien nut grab.
What is it?
Oh yeah.
Wait, and you stop? That means
No,
stop?
you keep going. It's awesome.
Wait, the safe word's supposed to make you stop.
I'll come over later. I'll give you the alien nut grab.
You're new locks on the door. You're not getting in here with your alien nut grab. All right, go on.
So a little bit of history about Barney. He was a World War II veteran. He had a lot of health issues. They don't really discuss what those health issues were, but they believe whatever it was is what led to his stroke in 1969. The stress and pressure that he was under doing these tours and trying to keep his job at the post office and trying to do all that, because he was only 46 when he died. So he wasn't even like close to retirement age.
Not that I'd like to give you more ammo, but he could be very stressed out because he's lying.
Because it's not true. Right.
And he's doing it for her.
Right. There was heavy talk about at the times that UFOs were big talk in the 60s, in the early 60s and late 50s. And so they're thinking that that could have influenced the hypnosis session. They're also thinking that Barney might have had some trauma as a child that was also being brought up during these hypnosis sessions. And because the alien UFO influence and everything that he had been talking about,
So he might have
it led
had
to
some
that.
horrible stuff happening to him as a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the dress, right? You spoke of a pink powder. Well, when they went to analyze the dress, the pink powder was gone. It wasn't there.
You're talking 2 years later?
She said she hung up the dress outside. And when she went out, the powder was gone. But there still would have been a residue of this powder in the material.
We don't know that. We don't know what the powder was. You can't just speculate. No, I see where you're headed. Go ahead. I see
Also,
where you're heading.
she did make some money off this because she continued to give lectures until she died. And she really went on the circuit after Barney died. And that's when the book was written. And that's when the TV movie was made.
She could say whatever she wants.
Yeah. He's dead. He can't say anything. Let's talk about the star map. She's a part of a celestial organization. It was a typical star map that she could get by looking at constellations. A lot of people did that back then. Plus, she was a huge astronomy person. Why couldn't she come up with this star map to say that's where they came from? She would know of the Zeta Reticuli. She would know of that area. If you're a huge stargazer, of course you would.
All of this new information or the stuff that you filled in the gaps with, is this a mostly true alien story or not?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they made it up. I'm going to say that Betty had a huge influence over Barney. And I think that under hypnosis and everything with the talk about aliens and all this stuff, and we don't know what she was saying to him. She could have been nagging him about it. Come on, let's just do this. And, this will help the cause. This will help everything. Let's just do this. We need to get on the map with this. I don't believe it happened. I believe that she's a huge UFO fan. I believe that she's an astronomer. She's a celestial thing. The fact that she went on afterwards talking about it and the fact that he didn't want to talk about it, I think it's made up.
So Andrew says this is not a mostly true alien story. Listeners, I want you to weigh in. Please leave your thoughts in the comment. Now it is my turn to weigh in on whether I think the Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction incident is a mostly true alien story or not. The fact that they were an interracial couple has a lot of bearing on this story, whether it is true or not. It was very brave of them at the time to be an interracial couple to start with at 1961. And good for them for being pioneers and being brave and going through with it. What that also tells me is that why, when you're in that situation, would you bring up or make up an alien abduction story to bring more eyeballs upon your situation when it was a very hostile time to be an interracial couple? So that, for me, is one of the grounding forces to make me lean towards whether this is true or not, and leaning more towards the truth. The star map, I don't know if they're going to get into the Zeta Reticuli kind of stuff being in a stargazing club. I don't know that that's going to be a thing. And even if you are, drawing that up is going to be something that I think would be difficult to find at the time and difficult to actually come up with. I'm not buying into that. I do believe that Barney was under a lot of stress because he didn't want to go out and be in the public, not because he was lying, but because of them being an interracial couple. The fact that they never told anybody, that it came out accidentally, the government should not have ignored this story. Why did they just dismiss it? They also said they were credible and they weren't hoaxers. So for me, I don't see the purpose of them making this story up based on their situation. And I think Barney was suffering silently. He just wanted to live a quiet life. Betty, yes, maybe she's outgoing. Maybe she's more boisterous. She wanted to be a part of things. I don't know that lends enough credibility to making this untrue. So that's why I feel like this is a mostly true alien story.
No, I see where you're coming from. I'm just not going to agree with you on it.
There you have it. It's the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. You say it is not mostly true.
I don't believe it to be true. I don't believe it to be true.
And I do believe there is truth behind it. It is an iconic story, one of the first alien abduction stories we've ever heard. It had all the hallmarks of a real alien abduction, but it also had some of the biggest red flags for you. So listeners, if you think it's a mostly true alien story or not, we'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And that's it for this episode of Mostly True Alien Stories. Make sure you follow, subscribe, tune in next week. And until then, keep watching those skies, people, and maybe don't take shortcuts through the White Mountains. Yeah.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about our dangers of unknown objects.
In Mexico, pulling back the curtain.